everyone, welcome to today's video where we are talking all about how to make babies. Only slightly kidding, but we are talking about the fastest way to get pregnant on your trying to conceive journey. And for those of you who don't know me, hey, I'm Connelly. Here on this channel we talk about all things parenthood, trying to conceive, how to save money and grow a business, grow your personal finances, just build strong families. So that is one thing that we are talking about today. And thank you so much for being here. I'm excited to talk all about the fastest ways to get pregnant. And I have a code. So go to my code below and you can save a big percentage off your first order. So that's really exciting too. So thank you to Inito for sponsoring this video and for giving my viewers a percentage off. We appreciate it. And this is one of the questions that people ask on my channel, on my previous videos the most, is like, what can I do to get pregnant now? I've been trying, I want this so bad. So I know that this is a big topic that comes up a lot. And so I just want to let all of you know that if you are trying to conceive right now, I'm wishing you all baby dust. I hope you get your baby as soon as possible. And this video is more for people who are starting on their journey to maybe more people who have been trying for a little bit. It's not for people who have been trying for years and years and years, who are already talking to doctors. I'm not a doctor, but I do have some really helpful tips and a review on a great product that I'm excited to share with you today. So I'm jumping right into it right now. So the first thing I want to share is that I recently went through an egg freezing process. And so I decided to freeze my eggs. It was more about fertility preservation more than out of a need to do IVF or something like that. My husband and I weren't trying to conceive. We will want to have more babies in the future, but we kind of wanted to space them out more. And you want to typically have preserve your eggs before you hit 35 in a lot of cases. So that's what we did. I wasn't sure where my hormones were after that. And so anyway, I was really excited when the sponsor of this video, Inito, reached out to me. So thank you, Inito, for sponsoring this video. This is one of the best and really one of the only fertility and hormone trackers on the market. And so what Inito does is it tracks. If you've been trying for a little bit, you probably know all about ovulation and tracking ovulation. And if you don't, I have a video all about that I'm linking to below or up here somewhere. But I'll definitely link it below in the description of the video for sure, if not somewhere else on the screen right now. Basically, for those of you who might not know, ovulation is the only time in your cycle where you're fertile. So you want to know exactly when you're ovulating. Most women don't. It's not something that's super obvious to a lot of women unless you are really tracking things and paying attention and looking out for it specifically. So oftentimes women will use ovulation trackers. I've talked about those before, recommended them before, and I still think they are great. The one drawback, there's a few drawbacks to them. They only measure estrogen and LH, luteinizing hormone. And so that's great to know if those hormones are giving you a peak and if you are peaking, and then if you are ovulating, when your fertile window is. But they don't necessarily confirm if you have actually ovulated. So what Inito does, I'm going to talk about what it does and then how to use it. But basically what it does is it looks at 4 different hormones. So it looks at estrogen or E3, which is just fluctuates a little bit throughout your cycle, but especially before ovulation, it goes up. Luteinizing hormone too, so that tells you when you are about to ovulate typically, or when that surge is happening, so that when you're in your peak window potentially. It looks at FSH, which is kind of tracking how well your follicles or your eggs are growing. And then the other one that it tracks is progesterone, and that is one of the key things that it tracks. So that's what the other ones are missing, because what you want to really confirm is not only when you're ovulating, but exactly if you ovulated and the day you ovulated. 1 in 10 people around there have anovulation. Anovulation is when you have the peak in luteinizing hormone and estrogen, but you don't actually ovulate. So if you've been trying for months and you haven't gotten pregnant, but you're tracking your ovulation, you might not actually be ovulating unless you know for a fact because you're using Inito. You should think about using a hormone tracker to really see if you are tracking. And this is something you use at home. It's so great. I'm going to show you what it does. But yeah, this is something that if you've been trying for a while, or if you are just starting out trying, but you kind of are on a timeline and you don't want to be pregnant during this person's wedding, so you got it, or you don't want to be pregnant during Christmas, or you do want to be pregnant during Christmas, and you got to get it done now, like you should start looking into this sort of product, because what it does is it helps you get pregnant the fastest way possible. Because if you are not ovulating, you'll know right away, and you'll know to call a doctor, and you can bring your results to the doctor, which is also fantastic. So just another reason to use this product is you are already ahead of the curve. If something in your trying to conceive journey comes up, you have documentation. And then the other thing it does is it compares previous cycles. So the longer you do it, the more accurate it gets, and it can kind of predict when it thinks you're going to ovulate, or when you're going to have your surge, and when you might get your period, or when it's time to test. That's the other thing I really like, is the app on your phone just like tells you when to test. But anyway, I'm gonna get into how to actually use it. This is what you want to be doing as soon as you are starting to conceive, because it is the best way to get pregnant really fast. So I'm gonna dive into now a little bit about how it works. So basically, you have an app, and the Inito app is great. You type in your previous cycles, as many as you have documented, or if you know when your last period was and that sort of thing. And then you make sure that you take a test when it tells you to take a test. So it likes to track on cycle day 6 to get a baseline of where you should be. And then from there, it likes to track around cycle day 10, 11, 12, that sort of thing. But the app will tell you exactly when, like I know when I need to be taking a test based on what it says. It's basically like any other kind of ovulation predictor kit. Some you are like midstream type of test, some you dip into a sample. So you'll go to the bathroom in like a tiny little cup that they provide, and then you'll open this test strip. Here you go. And basically you dip that in the sample for 15 seconds. The app takes you through everything. It's super, super easy. And then once you're done, you attach this to your phone. So when you order this, you put in what kind of phone you have, and it attaches just like that. It's so easy. After you've dipped, you insert, after you dip, you actually cover this part. Do not put the part that you dipped into the mechanism, or you will break it. So be careful not to do that. And then you put it in here, and then it knows that you're testing. So it gives you a little bit of a timer. You wait however long, like 5-10 minutes or whatever, and then you go and you see it, and then you look at your chart, and it's so cool. So I can now see the past cycles that I've used. So my husband and I are not trying to conceive right now, but I did want to see where my hormones were after all of those egg freezing medicines I was on, and after the retrieval and after the trigger shot. You know, I just want to see where things were, and if I was evening out, and if I was like ovulating and stuff. And it was just a great way to get a baseline for me for when I do want to start conceiving. So I wanted to start that now in advance versus right at the moment that I want to try conceiving, just to make sure everything's still working. So this is what my chart looked like. And you can see exactly where I peaked, and then where the where it predicted I ovulated, and then I was able to confirm later that I did ovulate based on my progesterone increasing. So that was really encouraging. And then some people even use the app. Now, Inito does not necessarily claim that they can predict pregnancy, but if you see towards the end of your cycle that your progesterone starts going up, some women on the app, on the Facebook group, which I'll tell you about in a second, think that they can kind of predict early before a pregnancy test if they've conceived or not. So that's really cool. That's another thing I love about Inito, is that not only do you have it on your phone, not only do you confirm ovulation took place based on your progesterone, but there's also an entire community online of women who are trying to conceive, who are using the product, who are asking questions to each other in a group message, and people are analyzing their charts and saying, well, I think that means this, and I would suggest doing this to, you know, reach your end results that you want. That has been one of the other most helpful parts about using this product, is the community of women who are using it, going through it, and have been using it maybe longer and know a little bit more about what things mean. You can also reach out to Inito and have someone analyze your chart if you need to. That's more on like a need kind of a basis, but that is also an option, which is so great, and that's unheard of. Like, can you imagine trying to call another huge company who has ovulation predictor kits and ask them a question if you're like unsure? No, I can't. Another thing that happened to me is I was using a different ovulation predictor kit, and it wasn't Inito. It was, I don't want to say the brand name or anything, but it only had the LH and the estrogen. And the way that some of those digital tests work is they will do your baseline and they'll say low fertility. And then if you start increasing, it's going to say high fertility, regardless of if you actually are high fertility at the moment, or like in your fertile window, which we know is only, you know, about 6 days. Well, this one, and this was after I had had a baby and I was checking to see where things were and I was still nursing, it said that I was in my fertility window for 11 days before I got a peak reading, which obviously you can't be fertile for 11 days. Like, sperm doesn't even live that long. Like, that's not how biologically things work. So it's just super inaccurate. You can't get inaccuracy with these tests. I mean, your hormones fluctuate a lot, but it's not going to read, it's not going to do crazy things like that, because there's more data here than on those other tests that are just a test line and a control line. You know what I'm saying? Another reason you might want to use this is because if you're trying to get pregnant and you're trying to understand, you might have your ovulation window wrong. When I first started to conceive, I had mine wrong by a week because I was going off the apps that you use to track your cycle, and they had it wrong. Like, my cycle does things a little bit differently. So if you are looking to get pregnant as fast as possible, this is one of the things you need to be using for sure, and making sure that if you are using an app, it's right and you understand your cycle and all that good stuff. But yeah, I couldn't recommend Inito enough. It's been so interesting to see where my hormones are. And also, if you're trying to not conceive, this is a great tool to use too, just to get an idea of where exactly your fertile window is and when to avoid, you know, doing stuff to avoid saying something weird that will get me demonetized off this platform. But anyway, so that is exactly what I would do. Those are exactly my recommendations. Yes. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure that you like and subscribe, and I'll look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care. Bye.